age companies?
I think not. So there are a lot of insurance companies, and each one of them will have 5,000 to 15,000 people in the field as agents, as maybe para-employees, contract employees, temporary employees, and so on and so forth. For them to have strong correlation factors built in, if I hire from a small town a person with 10th pass degree, then the chances of them being retained and doing a much better job compared to somebody who's graduate or from a big city. So those correlation factors are very important because you're dealing with large numbers now. So if you are able to correlate and establish, you can do a tremendous amount of service to your organization. Otherwise, you may have 5,000 employees leave you every year, and that can cause a big problem. So this is applicable for all kind of companies. You have 15,000 people in the field. Are they talking to your customers, or are they talking amongst themselves? So this is very important to know because, see, if you have a problem, you need to look for symptoms. Like in our company, we had a problem. We were just sitting and not moving. So I realized that we have too many people who were happy with the status quo. So I brought an outside organization to measure and tell me how many people are happy getting their paychecks every day. So you identify a problem, figure a way of measuring it, then start solving it.
Yeah.
So I think it's relevant for all people with large numbers, because in small companies, you can still figure out by interaction what's going on. Large numbers, you definitely need a lot of data-driven and correlation approach.
Ruhi?
Yeah, good afternoon, Virender. This is Ruhi Pandey. I represent Kaya. First, I wanted to thank you because your last presentation, there's one thing I took back and discussed with my CEO and CFO was the part about automatic approvals after 8 hours. You mentioned that if you don't approve anything in 8 hours, consider it, yeah. So I think that had a very positive impact. So first, thanks for that. I wanted to pick your brains on one specific thing. It's also on your calendar because I have faced that challenge across many companies. The natural response of organizations and leadership is to build restrictions rather than trust their employees. And oftentimes it then falls upon the HR function to constantly be taking up the mantle for the employees. Any advice on that?
Yeah, I think I will encourage all of you to read this case study on a company called Valve, V-A-L-V. Valve, right? Valve Incorporated. You read about 30, 35 pages of that. It's a simple, breezy reading. It will take you about half an hour. It has all the answers that you will be seeking. And its revenue per employee is 10 times that of Google. Okay. So the constraints lie in the top management's mind. If you have a controlled mindset, you will do things like this. If you have a mindset which is very free, like for example, I have never in my lifetime claimed per diem on my travel abroad, and I've been traveling all the time. I just maybe never spend more than $10 a day whenever I'm outside the country. It's normally Starbucks coffee or something, just 2 coffees a day. Rest of the meals are with some customer or somebody else, so on and so forth. I've never done it, and I'm not very sure, but I think none of my staff has done it who reports to me. Why I'm not sure is because I have set up an auto approval because my finance says Sarbanes-Oxley requires you to approve. So I asked the technology, can you set up something which auto approves without coming to be seen by me, by my eyes? They said, yes, it can be done, so that's done. So I don't know whether they claim or not claim, but I guess they don't. Maybe Raghu, you can tell me whether you claim or not. So you know, it flows from the top. When they see that I'm not going to use any, and if someday, you know, Harsh was in Paris, I think he spent about $1,000 with some customer over a dinner, or 1,000 pounds or euros or something. He pretty much knows that it's perfectly fine. He doesn't need to ask me. Because ultimately it's trust. And if you're so stupid you can't figure out this guy's misusing the company, then then it's better that you're not in the job, what you're doing. So if any person is misusing anything, you would know. Like my guy in Korea, I wrote him one-liner mail, when will your revenue increase be more than your golf bills? Okay. So we have a way of figuring out. It is not that we can't figure it out. My secretary is smart enough. She says, this guy in US wants to claim the diamond membership of the airline. So I said, prima facie, don't bring such small things to my attention. Now that you have brought, the answer is no. But if he claims it's fine, why you bring it to my this thing? Doesn't, not worth my time to say yes or no. But now that you have brought to my attention, the answer is obviously no. If somebody wants to claim a passport renewal fee from the company, it's also an individual document, violates use for company's travel. So if somebody claims, I'm not going to look at it, but if somebody were to ask me, then the answer will be obviously no, but I'm not going to waste my time looking at what has been done or not.
Thank you.
So my feeling is we have to be much more liberal if you want to be fast. You know, just give you example of, we said anything that is more than 3 times your wage bill as revenue, you will distribute amongst yourself, is the policy that says. So our finance wanted to say, how will the distribution be done? I said, at the discretion of the business unit head. They say, no, this can't be a policy. I said, this is the policy. And you know what? Because of that, the business unit head has paid himself the lowest amount that anybody would have ever paid. In fact, I had to intervene and tell him, you have to take significant amount. This is meant for you people. So if you put somebody in a responsible seat, the person behaves a lot more responsibly than you decide, okay, it will be distributed in this ratio, or finance will decide, HR will decide. You make complicate life, complicate for yourself. Then you are in regulating those things. Instead of attending to your customer, you are attending to all the internal issues, you become an internal organization. Just see the number of communications within the company and outside the company. You'll know whether you are a customer-facing organization or whether you are a boss-facing organization.
Okay. Surabhi?
Sounds very impressive, I have to say. But another side, another perspective, it's based on assumption that people have that degree of awareness and they are at that maturity level where they know what is right and what is wrong.
I think it's not applicable for every industry and every situation. So you have to see what level of employees you have, because if you have people who are going to be very low skill level, attrition level is going to be very high, they will leave the job and go run away and so on and so forth. This may not work. So every person has to, every organization may have to suit themselves to what will work for them or not. But in general, people who are empowered are far more, right from airline employees, for why Singapore Airlines is the greatest airline, to why particular hotel chain, because people are empowered to take certain decisions on the spot. If you were to take an umbrella away in a hotel, they will make you sign some document if you don't donate $20. In 4 Seasons, you take an umbrella or anything else away, they won't ask you. And I don't think 4 Seasons is any poorer because of that. So I think ultimately, 3% theft will take place, 5% will take place. But because of that, if you are going to make rules, you're going to mess up with your employees, their motivation level, and they will stop serving customers because they are just going to be compliant.
You know, one theme that is consistent in VA's input, and you know, they're not a B2C company. For B2C companies, it's even more real, is this consistent refrain on customer centricity, which is he's saying, you know, you've got to look at the employee, and I do have a comment on that in terms of his approach. But if you look at this whole customer centricity piece, today when you speak to CFOs, they talk the customer centricity language. They've been forced to go into markets, etc., whether they like it or not, to get a sense of. I think as HR, this is a piece that we're going to need to push extensively. Mr. Menon raised this in his morning conversation when he talked about, you know, using the recruitment grounds as avenues to assess changes in the wider world. But this customer-centric piece, if we can bring home clearer to us in everything that he speaks of. Now, okay, he's business leader, so you can say that's he's supposed to do, but I think he's driving it, because I have some insight and I know members of his team, he's driving it extensively, including in line functions, and that is going to become fundamental also because your customer is going to change. I have 2 little questions before we close. One is, you pointed out in that graph of lead the business, learn and grow as you know, status quo, etc. You have this set of people in lead the business. In an area like yours, which is technology, obsolescence is fast, etc., how often do you track whether the skills of the guys that are leading your business right now will remain relevant for 2016? Decide where you want to go. You also raise that. So does that keep you up at night to say, I've got guys leading the business right now?
I'll answer a question that you have not asked. because I think it's very pertinent for everybody else. But in the attempt of doing so, I think it will possibly end up answering your question as well. So if I am hiring somebody, what I look for in that person is, first is, can this guy get the shit done? I'm paying somebody to take full end-to-end responsibility and deliver an outcome. Not if I say you have to increase the revenue of this business unit from this to this, the person will deliver me an outcome, not an excuse. So we are hiring business leaders who will deliver, who will get the job done. Getting the job done is the single most important thing. Second thing is the person's desire to learn and grow constantly. In our field, obsolescence is so rapid that if you are not reading every day, a couple of hours, the ground is shifting under your feet very, very rapidly. Recently, we introduced something called card-based design. Shyam would possibly say about it. Card-based design is as new a concept in the Silicon Valley as about 6 months old. The articles started appearing on card-based design. For me to wake up the entire company and focus on card-based design and produce some product was a Herculean effort, because you have to put a team of 80 people to get the job done, and from where does it get the funding for 80 people, how does it get it done, and what happens and so on. But the fact is we realize we can't compete in the Western markets if we don't have a card-based design. So you have to be extremely, if that leader is not, then that leader is not what we need. The constant desire, hunger to keep themselves up to date with what's going on. So that is extremely, extremely important. The third factor is perseverance. You'll fall many times. You have to just pick yourself up and have the next go at it. So if you see in the recent movie, Tanu Weds, Manu Returns, or something like that, she talks about her brother who fights the bull and gets the bone broken. So we need the people who will, the bull will break your bone, but you will get up and fight. I mean, if you were to take his fight, we introduce our HR product in US market thrice now. 3 times it has failed. The 4th time also he is getting up and introducing the product in July 1st week. The only difference this time is we have said that this time the product will be introduced only with the approval of at least 3 consulting companies who say this can compete. Earlier it was his field, now it's good to fight. So not this time. Now this time those 3 companies will give a formal endorsement, this product is good to compete in the market, and then we will introduce. That's the only difference. But the fact is we are ready for the 4th battle.
Yeah.
So perseverance is extremely important. We will fall, we'll be kicked, we'll be punched, we'll be back.
Well said. In a different way, Dinesh in the earlier session used the word resilience. So that becomes, I'm going to save my question for later because we're out of time, but there's a quick one from Suresh.
Suresh from Bosch. Thank you for a wonderful, clear and direct presentation. You made me uncomfortable in a positive way. Question is about collaboration. You spoke about differentiation very bluntly, and you spoke about an example of digital marketing having to collaborate through target setting with marketing. So what's the practical experience you have in terms of how to get collaboration across a leadership team? Is it target setting? Is it common purpose, vision?
I think common purpose, about 50% of my finance, legal, HR salary is also dependent on the same target. Theirs is dependent on a company level. So if they sit on a contract, if they find 55 reasons why not to recognize revenue, it's going to hurt their salary check as well. So everybody is working towards common purpose. Shared vision, common purpose, defined in numbers, hitting your paycheck. If it doesn't hit your paycheck, you play politics. Okay? That's what happens in a company. The finance will do everything to block a sales proposal from going through. The legal will find 55 clauses which they have to object to for no reason, and so on and so forth. So everybody has a shared objective because everybody's paycheck is getting hit in the same manner. And what we have done is, if we can't have a measurable outcome against a person, it's a shared number. So for example, Shyam's team has 10 people centrally sitting. They are supporting all over the world. So they have a shared common target for the HR SBU for the whole year. Their target, everybody's target, the lowest employee, the new joinee to his own target at VP level, exactly same. I don't know how many, $50 million of booking or something, what is it? Something like that, $45 million of booking for the whole year is his target. The target is the same, but if somebody is sitting in Singapore, then he carries the Singapore region's target because his target is very clearly defined to what is happening in Singapore. So in that sense, everybody is aligned by numbers, goals, and their paycheck depends on only one outcome. You don't have too many outcomes to measure, because if you have too many, then you become one.